Hi, I'm Allison,
Hello, I'm Jafeth.
and this is the 12th episode of Existing. You can find our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube, and we upload every Monday at 11 p.m.
That we do. And if you would like to follow us on social media, please do so on Instagram at existingpodcast for little updates of ourselves, hopefully. And also
Hopefully.
and also for little teasers of the episodes. So Allison, what do we have in store for today?
You know how we've been starting to upload 2 mini episodes every other week. So we did this to try to make them lighter and happier, but we're going to use this time to talk about how hard it is to make this podcast.
Y'all, yeah.
To just be honest with you guys.
I don't know how content creators do it.
This is hard. I understand why people hire editors.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like I've edited YouTube videos before, and in my opinion, editing videos is a lot easier than editing audio for podcasts, because with podcasts, you only have it's only audio. So whoever is listening to it is only focusing on one thing. And so it has to be perfect, you know?
Yeah. And also doing it over video call, like the lag really
This is hard.
makes it a lot harder because I start talking. I know we've mentioned this before, but I start talking and then Allison's like about to move on to her next point, but then it reaches her that I'm speaking, so it's it's just really difficult.
It's hard. Also, because, we're complaining, but please understand that we love making this podcast. We enjoy making this podcast, but we just want to be honest about what the production process is like, because I feel like people might think that making a podcast is really simple, because that's what we thought as well when we first started.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of behind the scenes work, and especially because we do this remotely, there's the technical difficulties are they're abundant.
Yeah, there are times where we record an entire episode, like hour and a half recorded, and then
Oh my God.
this has happened to us, I think,
Something goes
2
wrong.
times or 3 times. But yeah, either like one time Allison's laptop froze and like the recording didn't save.
It
or,
almost exploded. My laptop almost exploded.
yeah, or for me, the audio just sounded so bad. Like it was so bad.
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened.
It sounded like it was being recorded on a Motorola. Like, it was not good.
Yeah, it sounded like a microwave. It was really bad. And I was like, what if we just release it? But it was really bad compared to Allison's audio, so it would have just not been good.
Yeah, if it wasn't that much worse, then I would have been like, okay. But in comparison to what my audio sounded like, it made his audio sound a lot worse. I was like, okay, no, we can't do this. So we re-recorded, I don't even know how many episodes. I feel like half or at least a third of the episodes we re-recorded at some point. I think when we were doing, I guess, our comeback, episode 7, trying to get episode 7 out took about 3 tries, because we changed the content for the podcast originally, but then we realized we shouldn't do that, so we had to reschedule all of our topics, so that was difficult. And then we also tried to have a special guest.
Oh my God.
And that was really difficult because the technical difficulties were really hard. This is hard.
Yeah, it's also just significant, or it's becoming significantly more difficult, just because when we started this was all we had to do, the only responsibility.
True.
And now we have classes. I have my internship, and it's just a lot of our hours are now also going to studying and doing homework and sleeping, because I'm getting more tired.
I'm getting more tired. Yeah. And on top of all of that, before we started school, we had a regular upload schedule, but it was very flexible because we didn't really have an audience.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, we have a really small audience now, but now because we're receiving funding from our school, we feel there's a greater responsibility to be more diligent with uploading and creating more content.
And also we just want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, we're just trying to make the most of like the resources that we've been given, because we won't have these resources forever. But I am proud of us for sticking with this uploading schedule.
Yeah.
As far as we have, thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we didn't expect to continue this podcast after school started, but here we are.
Yeah, or if we did, it was gonna be like very
Oh
minimal.
yeah. It was supposed to be like, oh, maybe we'll do an episode, but we're doing 2 episodes a week sometimes.
Every other week, 2 episodes. That's a lot.
But it is fun because during quarantine, or even now, even though we have Zoom class, for me, doing this podcast is the closest thing I have to hanging out with like Jafeth. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I miss hanging out with real people. But it's fun because
instead of mannequins.
No, literally. No, but it's fun just because also these conversations are just like, there's no one else I would really have them with besides with Allison.
Oh my god, I think
or besides like with other like really close friends.
Yeah.
And it's just funny like being able to hear ourselves talk after and then hearing it, and we're like, what, this is like, who has these conversations? Or it's weird.
What are you saying?
Because one would think that the conversations that we have, like especially the political-ish ones, are scripted, or that we really think hard about what we're gonna say, but it's kind of like,
oh, we don't.
We already kind of have these conversations together. We're just kind of recording them.
Yeah, these are... Listen, if you counted the conversations of this style that we've had in real life, we would already have like 200 episodes or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so hard because every episode, and it's funny because this is literally every conversation in real life, we talk about something and I circle it back to how I hate capitalism or something.
Yeah, we're not trying to push out anti-capitalist propaganda. This is actually how we speak in real life. And just to drive that point home, we do not use scripts or outlines for our podcast. We just press record.
And hope for the best.
But we just hope for the best. So we're trying to use more outlines just to keep us on track, and so that the editing process is a lot easier, so we don't have to listen through everything. But this episode right now is completely unscripted, no outline or anything. This is just us talking. Yeah.
Also, kind of just to talk about it more, but hearing ourselves, whenever we're editing and hearing ourselves talk, at first, I remember being like, I hate this so much. I do not want to listen to myself.
Yeah, so cringy.
But now it's like, I've gotten used to it, and I don't really mind the sound of my voice that much anymore. So, it's nice, I guess. That's a plus.
I mean, I mind the sound of your voice.
Oh,
no,
thank
I'm kidding.
you. Thank you. Let me talk more.
But yeah, after, having to edit this, I'm not as embarrassed of hearing myself anymore. However, I do cringe a little whenever I hear myself say, "Hi, I'm Allison."
Oh, yeah, me too. I cringe when you say that too.
Shut up.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, also, something that's really difficult is the fact that we don't have like a dedicated space, quiet space to make the podcast. So like there's always some background noise, or like my parents just got home, so they slammed the door, and I'm like, I really hope that didn't get caught on the recording. And then it did.
Yeah, I sincerely apologize. Our audio quality could be better, but we're doing the best that we can in our current circumstances, because we're living with our families at home right now, and we don't have professional booths or like a quiet, those tiny soundproof rooms. We don't have that. We are just at our desks.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember when Allison first brought up the idea of starting a podcast, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of hard, but like we could do it. But then once we actually started doing it, I was like, oh, it makes sense now why people have all the equipment they have, because, it helps. But
the money that you put into equipment actually helps. It's worth it.
Yeah.
I think.
It definitely is.
We recorded I think episodes 1 to 6 all on our iPhones, or maybe even 1 to 7. We recorded them all on our iPhones, and it was fine, but it was kind of not the best.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we did it.
Yeah, we did it, and people listened, I guess. You know what's so crazy? Yesterday I was checking our Spotify for Podcasters page, and we have, I forgot off the top of my head, but maybe like 68 listeners, regular listeners, and then we have like 35 followers. The followers, I'm like, okay, between me and Jafeth, it's probably people we know personally. But in terms of listeners, I don't think we're close enough with 60 plus people for them to want to listen to our podcast on the regular. And that's crazy, because I can also see where people are from that are listening to us, and sometimes they're in foreign countries. That's crazy to me.
That's funny.
That people are listening to us.
Oh my, we should say hi in different languages.
Oh, right now?
I don't know.
We should just keep going until we can.
I don't think I can.
No, we should
like
not
2.
do that on the podcast.
No, but that's so cool. I don't know. Having people
really cool.
listen to me speak, always been a dream of mine.
I mean, I never imagined that we would be doing a podcast like this. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I am not a regular podcast listener, so this is never something I really imagined for myself. But like the chicken and the egg thing, kind of like, because I have these conversations with Jafeth regularly, then I was like, oh, what if we did a podcast? Not like, I want to do a podcast, oh no, what do I talk about? It was the other way around.
Yeah. Also, the topics, or like the direction of the podcast, or like what I want from the podcast. I remember wanting, like, my intentions in the beginning, and they still are the same, was to have a podcast where we talk about political things, but like not in fancy political science big words, and make it more digestible. Because I remember, because I'm not gonna lie, I don't love reading, and I never loved reading. And people said that your vocabulary obviously grows when you read, but to me it's like, I mean, there are people who like don't read or don't have the means to get books and expand their vocabulary. So it's just, I mean, to me, to put it explicitly, like, I see language as a mechanism to divide classes.
And there we go. We made it in 15 minutes into the recording, and now Jafeth has finally brought up anti-capitalism or classes division.
I could have made it in 5 minutes. I really held myself back.
You could have made it in 10 seconds.
No, but yeah, like, it's just like that kind of influences that really influenced what I wanted this podcast to be, because I don't want people, because there are a lot of words too that turn people off, and I'm like, let's not do that. Let's not destigmatize that, or try not to use them.
Yeah, I remember our early conversations of like what we wanted the podcast to be like. I remember we do talk about politics a lot. We're political science majors, so it's no surprise that, that's what we talk about. But at the same time, we spoke about this before. We kind of bonded over the fact that we didn't really feel like we understood the academic, like, political terms and like lingo that our classmates or professors were using. So, and in a way, like Jafeth was saying, Jafeth said class divisions, but I think just even in the academic side of it, crazy complex academic language is used to gatekeep a lot, and and it makes people uncomfortable. But you should want to make this information more accessible. So coming from I'm not 20 anymore, but 20 something year old college students, we learned all these crazy academic terms, but we wanted to make it more accessible and more understandable for the average listener. Because I don't think the average 20-year-old would understand, I don't know, what do we talk about?
Corn
Like
laws.
institutions. Corn laws. The corn laws. Was it 1846?
I don't know. Some year.
I don't know, something like that. But, you know, it's crazy stuff like that. But knowing this type of information is critical, especially in a time like this. You know, we just want to do our small part to make this information more accessible.
And like,
yeah,
I feel like me having the experiences I've had and going to a private school in like a really wealthy area, when I was in the classroom, hearing what what the teachers were teaching, I was thinking, and the way they taught it, I was thinking to myself all this time, like, these students aren't the students that need to hear what this teacher is teaching. Like, there are so many other students that would benefit so much more from the way this teacher teaches, and it shouldn't be kept to only people who can afford it, you know, or only the select few minority students that like are lucky enough to have that opportunity. So yeah, it's just, that was kind of like what I wanted to do. Yeah. And what we wanted to do with the podcast, hopefully. Or at least, if not, because we also don't want to teach and we don't want to tell you guys like, this is this and this is that. We just want to spark some kind of interest in hoping or connect some dots. Because for me, I know that when I started learning all the like big terminology, it wasn't that I didn't know what that was. It was just that I didn't know the word for that concept. So once you start putting the word to what you've experienced, then you start understanding like, oh, like these things are connected, and I don't want to say it's not hard, because it is hard the way there are like certain barriers, but once you understand it and you're at that point where you like want to learn it, it becomes easier for you to kind of pick apart what's wrong with everything.
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. Yeah. I remember again what Jafeth said. We definitely did not want this to be like a college lecture. We learned what we know from college lectures, but we didn't want to regurgitate that information. We wanted to make it, like Jafeth said, more digestible. I'm using all these digestion words, regurgitate. Ew, that's gross. But yeah, for me also, I wanted, like, the fact that we apply our own experiences to these sort of political concepts, or like I guess not all of them are personal experience, but like other things that we hear from normal everyday life, and we apply them to these political concepts. I wanted to do this so that people could relate to these experiences, so it doesn't seem like just a textbook kind of term or something, so that people recognize that these kinds of like ideas are happening in real life and you can see it around you. And you know, as like young people, that's even more important that we become more aware now. So you know how it was more comforting for me to hear like, oh, Jafeth didn't really understand these things from class too, so like I don't feel as alone. Like I wanted to share that sort of feeling with other people. Yeah
I don't know. And also back to the not wanting it to be like a college lecture, not everyone feels comfortable in a college lecture environment, or not everyone like can learn from a college lecture environment. I personally really like watching like video essays about different topics and stuff, rather than, no offense to my professors because I do learn a lot, but I'd rather do that than, you know, sit in a professor's lecture. I've benefited a lot from sitting there, but yeah, and it's kind of, you're doing it on your own time as well, so you feel like you're more immersed in it. Also, it's easier to pause a video and like rewind than it is to ask your professor, because even though professors are super like cool with you asking questions or stopping, it's awkward, because I know sometimes I feel awkward asking questions because I don't, if all the other students understand it, then I'm like, oh, people think I'm dumb or something.
Yeah, like, why didn't I have this basic knowledge?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So with our podcast, like, I guess inspire sounds like such a corny word, but like I want our listeners to be interested about these different political topics, or just these life topics in general, on their own terms. Like I want people to want to learn, not because a school or a classroom told them to, because I feel like school and learning aren't necessarily, like they're not mutually exclusive. Like you can learn outside of school. And honestly, I feel like I've done a lot of learning outside of the classroom. So I want our listeners to feel that.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Because personally, I've had conversations with some like past friends or not past friends. I've had conversations with friends in the past where we talk about politics or we talk about like certain experiences within like the context of politics or political stuffs, and those friends are usually never immersed in that, you know, kind of in that stuff. They're seemingly apolitical because they don't like read the news or anything. But having conversations with them, it's so interesting because for friends who listen to my rants, sometimes it like sparks something where they're like, oh wait, I didn't know that was a thing, or oh, I felt that way too, or they can relate experiences I've had or things that I'm saying with the experiences that they have had as well. So that also was a big motivation for me to want to talk. And I know it sounds really weird because Allison said inspire, and I'm like, I feel
That's
like
putting ourselves on a pedestal.
that's such a weird word
like,
to use.
Because I talked to Jafeth about this a lot, like very unfiltered, it's easy to forget that most people our age, or just most people in this country, do not have these conversations. They don't really have basic knowledge of politics. So again, just reinforcing the point that we want this to be more accessible, or this information to be accessible.
Yeah. Hopefully that does help.
Funny thing. So we're talking about, politics. We talk about politics on the show. So originally, because we're getting help from our school, we thought, I think we need to make this podcast just about politics. So we had like a whole schedule of different political topics, and then we stepped back from it, and then we looked at it and thought, oh wow, this is boring. This isn't what we wanted originally. It went too academic. Yeah, because we don't want this to be NPR, but just politics. Yeah.
I remember when we made that list, I don't know, I didn't talk to Allison about it that night, but like I remember after making that list, I like felt a little stressed, and I was like, damn, like this is like politics, you know, this is like a politics lecture class. And then the next morning, like I woke up, or I don't know if it was the next morning, but like later on, we looked at it again and we were just like, this is too, like the titles that we put for the podcast, they literally looked like our political science syllabus, like up for a poli sci.
I was gonna say we basically wrote a syllabus. We had episodes scheduled just about collective action.
Oh my god.
We had one that was about U.S. history.
We had like American democracy.
Yeah, American democracy, U.S. history, censorship. Actually, the censorship is interesting considering today Trump put out an executive order to make, history taught in classrooms more patriotic.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even see.
Yeah, he like just announced it. Because he says like now, because I think the New York Times had the 1619 commission thing where they wanted to put more information out there about how much slavery is embedded into this country. He was criticizing that because he said that is diminishing our country. That commission, yeah.
I don't know. I hate commending European countries, but the way Germany went about with the Holocaust is like a really, like that should be followed.
Definitely. I respect them for that.
And that only. Yeah, I mean, U.S. censorship is like, we might do an episode just because there's a lot to talk about there.
There's a lot to talk about, and I feel like it could be kind of funny if we try.
I don't know, because for me, I recently learned a lot about the I think this is just fun for us, because what I was about to say, I was going to say the Cuban Missile Crisis.
You nerd. Jafeth calls me a nerd, but I think we just witnessed Jafeth is also
the Cold War is fun because there were spies and communists.
Okay, fair. The spies part is
kind
of
hello.
Cool. Yeah.
But we'll definitely think about topics that aren't so boring to listen to.
Yeah. And also, I think our perception of ourselves is a little skewed because I think we probably feel like we're funnier than we actually are.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe. I say
Yeah.
maybe, but yeah, no, we but I just want to say we changed after we changed the schedule of topics, we literally felt lighter.
Yeah.
We had this conversation where we said we felt
I felt
like
like
we
I
had this
lost
weight lifted off of our
1,000
shoulders.
pounds.
It's funny because when we were making the topic schedule, we were saying, wow, this looks so legit. Yeah, like a legit syllabus for a political science lecture class. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
looking at it the next day or the next few days, after the next few days, it was like, nobody's gonna want to listen to this.
Yeah, I think I remember I think the worst one was the collective action one because we wanted to break it up into multiple episodes
Yeah.
and one of them was going to be foreign policy and war. What?
Okay, well, war's interesting.
What?
Hello?
War is interesting, but
Foreign policy, not so much, but
foreign policy with collective action and cooperation, that is a lecture. That's a class lecture.
yeah, that's true.
Not a podcast.
Yeah, it's because, but it's also because sometimes we want to talk about things and you need some sort of basis for the conversations
You
or
need
the concepts
context,
that we're gonna,
yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of hard because we're not assuming that we don't want to sound like we're assuming that our audience knows what we're talking about, and in the process make them feel like dumb for not knowing.
Dumb.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
if you're not taking a class on it, then you're not gonna know, unless you just
wouldn't
love
know.
reading.
Yeah.
But it's like we want to be able to kind of teach or inform you or open that gateway for you to like research or something, because it's like I said, it's just something that's so apparent every single day. It's not like we're teaching you a concept that is so rare that you won't ever need it outside of your life or outside of the context of teaching it to you.
It's not y equals mx plus b.
Yeah, it's literally like something that can make,
You're living it.
like, once you learn collective action or other very broad concepts like that, then a lot of the problems in the government make sense.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, the government never does anything, or states never do anything, or this. And it's like putting words to these big concepts makes it make sense a little more.
Because I think especially like right now, a lot of people have frustrations with the government. They have frustrations with, I don't know, a lot of things, infrastructure, healthcare, etc. But they just don't really know what we can do about it and where these problems come from exactly, because a lot of the frustrations that a lot of people are having with the government right now, they're not COVID specific problems. These are problems that existed prior to
Yeah.
COVID. It's just people are just paying attention more now.
Yeah.
We're alluding to a lot of things because if we go down that rabbit hole, we will go down that
Yeah,
rabbit
right
hole.
now I just like was thinking.
We're trying so hard to keep it very surface level.
Yeah. Yeah, we just wanted this little short episode to talk to you about the difficulties of making the podcast, as well as like our goal and like what we wanted this podcast to be and what we hope this podcast will do for anyone who's listening.
And of course, like not all of our episodes are political.
Yeah.
We did, K-pop Twitter, relationships. I think it's funny because people have whole podcasts dedicated to relationships. We just did one episode and we're like, okay, we're done.
Because the relationships episode was really fun to film, but we have nothing to like.
We have
talk
nothing
about.
substantial to talk about other than the fact that we're unhappy with our romantic lives because they don't exist.
Yeah, and unhappy with capitalism.
Oh my god. Okay, existing podcast drinking game. Every time Jafeth talks about capitalism, take a shot. You might be dead by the end of the episode, but you had fun, didn't you?
I'm 20, so I don't endorse this.
I'm 21. I've been 21 for 6 days.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, Allison. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
6 days later. So, go wish Allison a happy birthday in the comments. A late birthday.
The thing is, we recorded and posted an episode the weekend of my birthday, but we didn't.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, but we're talking a lot about how hard it is to make a podcast, but I'd like to encourage anyone who wants to make a podcast to do it. And your iPhone voice memos mic is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And you have GarageBand, which is free on your MacBook.
If you have a MacBook.
If you have a MacBook.
Audacity is a good alternative. It's free and downloadable for both.
Just do it. Try it.
Get the free trial on SoundCloud, and when that's over, keep uploading to YouTube.
That was actually our original plan, and then our academic dad was like, "Hey."
Yeah, he was like, money. I can hook y'all up.
I can help you guys. And we're like, what?
We were like, thank you, King.
Honestly, I don't know how people do podcasts by themselves.
Yeah.
That's just a speech.
Yeah.
Like, I could not imagine doing this podcast without Jafeth. Like,
literally talking to a wall.
Actually.
Wait, that too. Hearing ourselves say like, or all the phrases.
Yeah. Because we record ourselves and listen back to ourselves, we can hear all of the little phrases and words that we repeat as sort of, I don't know, verbal crutches.
Yeah.
We say like a lot. I say, for me, I'm so sorry. I try to edit as many of those out as I can, but it's very hard.
Yeah, I say a lot, as you could hear before I said that.
I cut out a lot of Jafeth's uhs though.
Yeah.
Because they're easy to cut out. But in terms of editing, because I've tried to cut out all of these little uhs, the editing process is very tedious, so I'm going to try to not do that, but that requires us to speak more eloquently and more succinctly, which is very hard.
I agree. When I edited my first episode, it was only, I think, 35 minutes. That was the recording length. It took me about 2-3 days separated to cut it, because I mean, I didn't spend that long every single day on it.
Oh, yeah.
But I really tried to cut every single or weird pause to make it sound like it flowing well. And then I just told myself, but that's how we speak. It shouldn't be that hard. Yeah. But still, it's difficult to listen to yourself and hear yourself say or like so many times.
Because then I think to myself, wow, do I say this in real life? Am I this annoying in real life? People have to listen to me?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Now I have a lot of respect for the people who film and record their podcast live and in person, because they can't edit the audio like we do. So if we ever get to meet in person to record this, I don't know how the hell we're going to do it.
I feel like it might be easier, hopefully.
I think so, because I think a lot of the editing I have to do usually, or now you have to do, is because of, the lag, and we talk over each other sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, that will conclude this episode of us talking about...
Just talking.
Yeah, literally just talking.
This was the behind the scenes of the Existing podcast. Also, our title has a question mark at the end, but we don't pronounce that whenever we say our podcast, because we can't be like, hi, this is the 12th episode of Existing?
I mean, we can, but it just sounds weird.
But it'd be weird. So we don't. We just type it out with a question mark because we wanted it to be like that.
It's just there for, it's like cosmetic. Yeah, it's for the looks.
Yeah, just to be like, I am pondering.
Yeah, it's because you have to question everything.
Basically. So, yeah, we'll end it here. A song recommendation?
Song recommendations. I think I will do Destiny by Lovelies, another K-pop group. Very good. Chef's kiss.
I'm going to recommend a song that I've had on loop for the past few days. XS by Rina Sawayama.
Oh my gosh, I went to her concert.
Wait, oh my god, yeah, you did.
2 years ago or something.
Wow.
So good. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. When I first listened to it, I was like, oh, it's okay. But now I listen to it, I'm like, this is a vibe. The ultimate vibe. The 2K, aesthetic vibe.
She's very anti-capitalist. Really cool. XS is quite literally about
XS
hyper-consumerism.
Yeah, it's about, it's, she criticizes what, like, Calabasas, Cartier,
Yeah.
Teslas, like that whole
Her
thing.
mind. Her big,
Yeah.
thick, juicy mind.
I love that. Yeah, because I saw it in like the Spotify, the behind the scenes thing where she was like, it's funny how people are just all about this hyper consumerism when the planet is literally dying. Rena, we love you.
Yes, we do. That was it.
You can find our podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and iTunes, and we upload every Monday at 11 p.m. And this week we had 2 episodes. So go ahead and go listen to episode 11, which was about us in middle school, which was atrocious. Yes. So go listen to that. Jafeth, where can they find us?
If you are so inclined to follow us outside of this podcast, you can find us on Instagram at existingpodcast.
I wanted to post an Instagram story asking people, what kind of topics they want us to discuss. But I don't think anyone will respond to it, so maybe we'll hold off on that.
Well, we'll do it, and we'll respond from our personal account, so it looks like we have.
Oh, yeah. That's so sad.
All right. Well, thank you for listening.
See you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.